want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Oh, to the yeah.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Kirkham Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you. And this one's a doozy. We might have to do a bit of a setup on this one because I didn't even know about this. We had Alex Avila on and he mentioned this and I was like, ooh, what? Because for you, sir, how many people do you normally want to have in bed?
Well, it's none of your business, man. Stop getting personal. Yeah, he kind of threw that out there just out of the blue. He was like, he said, most couples have 6 people in the bed. And I was like, man, you got real freaky, real quick, dude. I don't know what kind of show you think this is, man, but we are nice, wholesome, innocent people out here, man. We don't be talking like that up on the Mad Men of Masculinity. We don't want to offend nobody. You know what I'm saying?
Well, not all the time.
Not all the time, but nothing could be further from the truth once he broke it down. The way he put it, he said that most couples, and it's kind of metaphorically speaking, but he said most couples is you got the couple, the 2 people, and then he said a lot of times you'll have both sets of parents having influence into what happens in a relationship, and metaphorically speaking, what happens in your couple or your marital or whatever kind of bed. And so the metaphor was basically, you bring in, the whole point is you bring in to relationships stuff that you don't realize. And a lot of that has to do with your past, your upbringing, your past experiences and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, shoot, man, you ain't never wrong on that one.
Yeah. And it makes total sense that, of course, the 2 most influential people would, in your life, the ones that raised you would be in a sense kind of in your relationship bed as well. But then we started talking about it as well, I think even off air, and 6 might be a pretty low number because a lot of folks haven't healed their past relationships, haven't let go of the past, or still carrying around the baggage and luggage from past relationships. So 6 might even be lowballing it a little bit. Some people might be having 10, 12 people in the bed because they haven't let go of all that past trauma, luggage, and baggage, which we talk about so much that if you haven't healed the past, if you don't heal the wounds from your past, you're going to bleed on the people who didn't cut you. That's kind of the same thing. If you haven't worked through whatever your parents did or didn't do, then they're going to be right there, in the bed with you. Because we are the substance of our experiences. We are the sum of all of our experiences, and a lot of our experiences aren't necessarily positive.
Yeah, the reality is the first primary relationships that we have, in theory, in general, are our parents.
Hopefully,
even if you have an absentee parent, it still affects you. It still impacts you. It still creates something in you. We all came here by the way of a male and a female. A sperm inseminating an egg, creating an embryo. So whatever that makeup is of those 2 people, genetically, you're a product of direct product of 2 people, and an indirect product of dozens, if not hundreds or more that come before you that make up those 2 people. So so either way, when you have that primary relationship of your parents, it comes down to right out of the gate. Yeah, foundationally, what was your household like? What was your family dynamic like? And maybe you grew up in a single parent home. Maybe you grew up like the Cleavers. Maybe you grew up more like the Jeffersons or the family. In Green in Chicago. You name it. Maybe you grew up like Sanford and Son. Whatever. You on and on and on. But the whole point is, whatever that dynamic is, it still makes up kind of who you are today, and that impacts all of our relationships. But it's something that we don't necessarily think about in terms of things that we need to make sure we reconcile, make sure we have a reckoning with, make sure we understand, and make sure we know what kind of baggage that we're bringing into this relationship. Because, I like to say, when you don't unpack the baggage, it becomes luggage and you end up taking it everywhere you go.
Yeah, and that luggage gets heavy, and that's what things.
Mhm.
It's interesting because I was listening to something else today, and it kind of touched on a similar subject. A lot of times, especially in relationships, we focus too much on the outer and the physical, and we don't focus enough on the personality and how they communicate, or what sort of personal development they've done, what healing they've done. And a lot of times, once you get past the physical, guys, once you get past how cute she is and all that stuff, then you start to find out that underneath there's a lot of maybe dysfunction, or maybe there's just a lot of things you don't line up on. Because I mean, what if they grew up in a really conservative household and don't have the same sort of openness or whatever that you did, or vice versa? Maybe they're too open. Maybe they're a hippie commune and run around naked all the time, and that doesn't jive with you. So a lot of these things that we don't typically look at, we don't go, hey, what were your parents like? What was your upbringing like? And what were your last relationships like? I mean, guys, a lot of times in today's world, especially when you're in the middle years like we are, there almost everybody else has multiple past relationships or a past marriage and a divorce and things like that. So finding out like, okay, well, how did that end? And was it amicable, or what's going on? And because a lot of times we see one side of, there's three stories in any divorce or any in breakup. It's the his story, her story, and the truth. And
Mhm.
if they've worked through it, then usually they can say, "Oh yeah, well I played my part and they played their part and it just didn't work out." But if they say, "Oh, it's all them," you got to look at red flag, like, "Oh, they haven't worked through or taken responsibility for their past, their decisions, and their relationships." And a lot of times, that if they haven't taken responsibility for those past ones, or even looked at how their parents affected them as a person wanting to be in relationships or growing up, that might end up falling on you. Like, oh, something I didn't cook, or something I didn't make. Now I've got to deal with the aftermath of that.
And that's, it comes to mind that, man, one thing we need to remember is we better make sure we find out who we're connecting with, who we're attaching with. A lot of times, man, we rush really quick into linking up with people and attaching to people and connecting with people and all this other kind of stuff, man. And man, you better be careful about that. You better be careful what beds you lay in, because some of them beds can get kind of crowded, man, and maybe there's no room for you in that thing. At some point in time, man, I got a king size bed, but I would imagine at some point there could be only enough room for so many people in that king size bed, right? And
Mhm.
so, maybe you got so many, metaphorical people in your bed that there's not room for somebody else. Or maybe you're with somebody else and they got so many people in their bed or in their head that there's no room for you. Maybe, fellas, maybe there's a whole lot of men wrapped up in her, innards, and it's just maybe there's no room for you. Maybe she has no emotional, spiritual, physical, sexual room for you. Women, man, maybe he's spreading seed like he's Monsanto. You know what I'm saying? I mean, maybe he got nothing left for you. Maybe he got too much stuff spread all over the place, man. And so we need to be careful when we're latching up with people, and especially when we're connecting and bonding with people, that we are aware of who and what we're bonding with. Because at a certain age, all of us come into it with something. All of us got some kind of bag, whether it's a backpack, a knapsack, or whether it's one of them oversized duffel bags that you got to pay extra for at the airport. Either way, we all got something, and you better make sure before you latch on to somebody and connect up with them too deep that you know what kind of bags they come with.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to cleaning out your closet. And to Kirk's point, we rush into things. And a lot of times, rushing into relationships, especially if you're trying to rush into what you want to be a long term relationship. I mean, if it's just a casual thing, you're just being friendly. I mean, you're not expecting to invest too much. But especially for guys, I mean, nowadays, be careful of how much you invest, because the cost can be very, very high. So make sure you slow down when you're like, oh, I see potential here. Now let's dig into the minutia. Let's dig into the past. Let's see how much healing and learning and all these things have happened, because you don't know who you're getting in bed with or who they're bringing with them. I mean, how many times have we gotten in trouble for what happened in somebody's head, what happened in their dreams? And it's like,
Mhm.
why is that triggering you? Well, it's something maybe they hadn't dealt with, or something that, like, I don't know how many times I've gotten yelled at for something that reminded somebody of an ex. oh, don't do that. That reminds me of so and so. You didn't deal with that, so now I have to pay the price of somebody else. And so many of us end up doing that on both sides, where we just feel down because we're lonely or whatever. And instead of doing some work to get to the point where we're pretty comfortable on our own and being a more healthy person, we just jump into the next relationship and then go, I wonder why I'm having the same experience in this relationship as I had the last relationship. Well, you didn't clean out your closet. You didn't clean out the laundry basket. You still got all the dirty clothes and all the dirty stuff from the last person. So why would you expect that person to, be the one to clean up that for you? And I think that's what a lot of us are either consciously or subconsciously expecting, to find this perfect person, this angel on earth that's going to help us clean our closet and our dirty laundry and then elevate us up to this perfect version of ourselves. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's on you.
That's on you before you even get into the relationship. You got to do your laundry. You can't be having dirty drawers laying around. I mean, don't nobody want to walk in on all that.
Skid marks ain't sexy.
No, it ain't sexy at all, man. And so you got to do your laundry, man, and you got to clean that up. You gotta make sure you are ready before you even get into something with somebody else. Because when you're ready before you get into something with somebody else, then you can recognize when somebody else is not ready to be in something with you. Because you recognize that, okay, we're not at the same level. Like we're not even at the same, I hesitate to use the word vibration or the same wavelength or the same, we can't see eye to eye because you still got junk in your trunk. And man, I can tell you, man, there was times where I went on a first or second date and was like, nope, I'm sorry. Nah, no. I run, do not walk to the nearest exit. I mean, period. And so, but you gotta make sure that you have all your poop in the group before you get out there and start trying to intermingle with somebody else, and vice versa. You better make sure that you're if you're on alert for anything. And this is what I would say. This is probably maybe not first date, maybe not even second date kind of conversations. But once you get to the point where and man, there's a great book somewhere, and up here. There's a great book somewhere with some steps, how to go step by step with this whole thing, man. 7 Secrets of Modern Dating, and it's, it is getting from couch to spouse. And it's one of those, the first thing you do is work on yourself, and then you get into the point where you get into dating and you're out there. And then when you get to the point where you begin to like, okay, I kind of dig this person. I'm going to settle, I'm going to check them out. I'm going to hang out for a minute. But then at some point you get into some, get to the point where you run out of the basic questions. What's your favorite color? Do you like the inside cut of the brownie or the outside cut of the brownie? What do you put on your grits? All those kind of foundational questions of the first or second date. It's important to know if somebody likes sugar and butter on their grits or if they like salt and pepper. That's important. These are details you got to know. But when you get all the basic stuff out of the way, all the little, surface stuff, and you start to go deeper, you got to be able to ask some of these questions, and you got to have the guts. Because I'm telling you, man, there's nothing worse than getting mixed up with somebody dysfunctional. That's going to end up with some pain. It's like, what is your prediction for this fight? Like the Rocky scene. What's your prediction? Pain. That's what your prediction is when you ain't able to get into some of these details.
Yeah, and that's why we talk so much about slowing down. I mean, if you go back a couple episodes to, stay in your lane, this is kind of part and parcel of that. You want to make sure, because it's not even just like lane, it could be levels, it could be like grades in school. If you have taken the time to do the work and study, and you're up at like a bachelor's, master's level college degree of self-awareness and emotional work and things like that, but you're hanging out with somebody that's in elementary school, you don't have much in common, and they have a huge gap that they've got to get through to even get to your level. So sometimes you may be on the same economic level, you may have a similar background, but you haven't done the same work, and so you're coming at it from two different levels. Now, guys, if you're still doing nice guy things, you want to be Captain Sava, and rescue her and bring her up, that's on you. But just know that if you're starting at a higher level, then you got a lot more work, and they have to want to do the work. Actually, it goes both ways. Guys, girls, it doesn't matter. If the person you're getting into a relationship with hasn't done the same amount of work. And I mean, I started asking these questions a lot of times too. I still I'll mess around, because how much I hate online dating, but I'll mess around and talk with people, and pretty quickly it's like, do you know your personality type? How's your relationship with your family? How was your ex? And just in a general kind of way, just because it tells you so much. And if you go back to our red flag, green flag episode a year or two ago, these will tell you a lot of those red flags and green flags to let you know, okay, red flag, maybe I need to stop and slow this down, or green flag, okay, green light, let's go. We can move forward from this, but it's a step-by-step process. And that's why we say, once you think that there's potential there, slow down and then start unpacking your bags together and see if you got matching socks, you got matching outfits. Because if you don't, then no matter how much you like how they look or how much you think they compliment you, when it gets into the realness of the relationship, when it comes down to communication and sharing and getting intimate, you're not on the same level.
Yeah. When you first meet somebody, and this is something, we can speak 4 guys and 2 guys. 2 guys, man, guys, I'm telling you, fellas, these ladies, man, they could put on a great front, man. Hey, filters are a trip out here, man. I mean, you can look at some pictures and man, it can look great, man. They can look like a beauty. And then when you meet them, they look like the beast. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, it's one of them things that, man, a lot of women are great at putting on the front, putting on the show. They know how to dress all that up. They know how to, man, they can do a whole lot of stuff, man. They can put all kinds of needles in their face. They can put whatever kind of color in their hair. They can wear heels to make them look this way. They got Spanx. They got, the form fitters. They got bras that can make stuff look this way and blah, 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 blah. And they can do all that kind of stuff. But then, man, I'm telling you, then you realize, man, that's a shallow pool, man. You realize it's all frosting and ain't no cake. And so we got to make sure that the cake is as good as the frosting, and then it becomes a dessert. Then it becomes a treat. And then absolutely, a guy can present very well. He can be the nice guy to say all the nice things. He can quote all the stuff he heard on Men of Masculinity. He can say all the right things, do all the right things. But then when you get underneath the surface, he got some addictions, or he got some stuff from his ex and past, and wounds, some father wounds he hasn't dealt with wholly, and all that other kind of stuff. But when you can talk about all these things and when you can unpack them, first of all, the fact that somebody can talk about these things, that tells you that they're at least comfortable with knowing where they are. It's not that somebody shouldn't have anything in their past. We all got something in their past. But the fact that they can talk about these things, especially if they can talk about it in the context of, here's what I learned from my childhood. Here's what I learned from my first marriage, my second marriage, my third marriage. Here's what I learned from all these bad experiences. Then, you want somebody who's been there, done that. You want somebody who's learned some stuff through some things that they've been through. I personally wouldn't be good with somebody that has never had any adversity, has never had any bad experiences. I probably wouldn't be good with anybody who never married, no kids. That we can't relate on some things. And so I'm okay if she's got some issues. Now, if she's got more issues than Kleenex got tissues, then now we got problems, especially if I'm gonna fill them today, huh? I mean, especially if she can't, if she can't pull them out of the box and explain each one of them, man, we got problems.
Yeah. And I mean, to go back to when we had Alex on, wisdom is an emotion is a memory without the emotional attachment, which means you can talk about what happened in the past because you've done the work to work through that emotion, and now you don't get triggered by it. And I think that's why having slowing down and having these conversations about their past and your past and what they learned and whatnot tells you so much about where they are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all these different things. Because when we can't talk about our past, it means we haven't dealt with whatever the trauma or the emotion is. And if you haven't dealt with it, that means at some level, where there's conscious or unconscious, that person is hoping you will deal with it for them. And nobody really wants to have to clean up somebody else's garbage. We're not flipping houses here. We're not fixing and flipping. We're hoping to meet at a similar level and then grow from there. We want to be pretty close. Now, I mean, I'm sure there's some gray areas, and a lot of times you may have different traumas than the other person. And sometimes that works out because you can support each other. But a lot of times it needs to be something on a similar vein. You want to be able to talk about similar things. Like Kirk said, he doesn't want somebody who's never been married without kids, because they may not have enough in common, or may not have enough similar experiences. But it's still about how do we come together as close to on an even keel, close to the same lane as we can, and then grow together? Because the whole point is to come together to grow together. But if it's a fix and flip, and you're like, oh, this guy, he's amazing, he'll fix me up, or she's amazing, she's gonna make me feel, heal all these things. They might, but a lot of times in those situations, by the time you get to the point where you feel okay, they're wore out, they're done, their cup's empty, their saucer's empty. They're like, I got to go somewhere else and refill and recharge and heal myself from all that baggage and luggage you just dumped at my doorstep. So it's not about really jumping into something and then saying, okay, fix me. No, it's get in the mirror, do your work. And this is where the hard reality and responsibility comes in. Look at your past. If you haven't looked at your past, well, it's time to do it, and figure out what are the patterns that you bring to relationships. If you keep dating the same person in a different body, if you keep dating some version of your father or your mother, you haven't unpacked those bags. You haven't dealt with whatever those traumas or whatever that past memory and emotion is. And that's why you keep attracting the same person, because like you're on the same frequency, you're on the same vibe. And so you can be in a room with 100 other amazing people, but it's the one that vibes with your traumas and your emotional blocks that you're going to be like, ooh, that's the one. No, they're not the one. They just resonate with those same energies that you're bringing into the room. So unpack those energies, look at your past, take some responsibility and go, okay, here's what I learned from that. And so now going forward, I know that's not what I want, or take the good and, leave the bad. But jumping into bed and not realizing that there's the parents, the exes, and all the other things in there with you, and thinking it's just the two of y'all, might end up pretty painful in the future.
Yeah, I mean that, and even when I say that about me, what I know would jive for me and what wouldn't, that's just me. Somebody else might want somebody with never married, no kids kind of thing, and I mean, and at the same time, I might be okay with somebody that comes in. If my woman's got some baggage, I might be okay with that. I'm like, we can deal with that. I don't need her to necessarily come in with a whole lot of stuff, or a whole lot of whatever. But we got to be able to connect on certain levels in terms of where we are today, what we've learned, what we've been through, what we've grown through, and all those kinds of things. And everybody's different, but you got to know what works for you and what doesn't. And the best way, and maybe even the only way that to really know what works for you and what doesn't, is for you to do the work on you, for you to go through your closet, for you to get the junk out of your trunk, go do some therapy to unpack your bags. Maybe hire a coach to help you learn how to then fold your clean laundry and put it away. That's what coaches do. And, maybe do that kind of work. And then, then you're in the best position. But I'm telling you, so many people get so caught up in, I want a relationship, I want a relationship, I want a relationship, but we ain't ready for relationships. That's just one more that we're going to ruin. And to your point, if you keep attracting the same thing, if you keep attracting flies, then maybe you're the stinky thing that keeps attracting flies. I mean, that's the clean way to put it. I mean, there's other ways I can say that, but that's a clean way to put it. Like, if you keep attracting flies, then maybe you it that keeps, that draws the flies in. And so you got to be able to deal with those things, man.
Yeah. To reset, for those of you just joining us, there are 6 people in every relationship bed, marriage bed, what do you call it? It's not just the two of y'all. And in that analogy, it's you, your partner, your parents, and their parents. Now, what we're saying is there's probably more than that, because if you haven't unpacked your relationships, then you got the parents' influence and then the past relationship influences. And this is where the personal responsibility comes in, of looking in the mirror and going, okay, what works, what doesn't work, and what do I need to work within myself, work out and within myself, and heal, so that I can get more of what I want and less of what I don't want. You want to even out that scale and get back more. It's a theory of diminishing return. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and not making any changes, your returns are going to continue to diminish. And I see a lot of people now where their first relationship lasted the longest because they were new at it, they didn't know any better, and then the second relationship they learned a little bit, but it was much shorter because they're like, oh, I'm seeing the same patterns. And then the third relationship's really, really short, and it's because I'm seeing the same patterns, but what they're not doing is looking in the mirror and going, am I attracting those patterns? Are those my patterns? Is that my trauma? And that's why we say responsibility, working out your traumas and gaining some wisdom will help you in your future relationships. Because when you can talk about those things, number one, you're not going to be as triggered. And when people get triggered by something from their past through you, like, oh, that reminded me of my ex, so you must be like my ex. That's, just trauma resurfacing. That means they haven't dealt with it. But when you've both dealt with your traumas and your stuff, or mostly dealt with it to a point where you can actually talk about it, then you can support each other, because now you're both more emotionally educated. You're more ready for relationships. Relationships about that communication. Intimacy comes from sharing those wounds and sharing the past and sharing those deep, dark corners of yourself. And that's really the thing that'll probably stick you together and create that super glue for the relationship. But if you don't have the emotional wisdom and the clarity on your past, how are you going to work that out, or even explain it to your new partner? Like, hey, this is what happened in my past. This is what I learned. If you're just like, don't do that, that triggers me. That's not a healthy way of dealing with it.
And I think, man, bringing this in for a landing for me, man, if you're beyond first grade, we all have an ex. We all have an ex girlfriend, an ex wife, an ex husband. We all got an ex. And if you have an ex, that means you got some kind of ownership, some kind of stake in that, and you won't find somebody who's divorced and it ain't their fault at all. Like, there's nobody that's 100% innocent in terms of any kind. Either, if nothing else, you made a bad choice in who you got in a relationship with. But so we all have some level of ownership, some level of experience. We all got something we need to unpack from our past that relates to us, not the other person, but relates to us, to you, the one in the mirror. You need to look in the mirror, and that's where your dating life needs to start. Your dating profile needs to start in the mirror before you even get on an app, before you even go out on a first date. You need to be looking in the mirror, working on that person, as opposed to looking on a screen or looking in the window, looking at other people's faces. You need to be looking at your face first, because we all got to unpack stuff from our past. I don't know too many people that didn't have some level of dysfunctional family growing up. And so, we need to unpack all that. And then we need to kick all of them people out of our bed one at a time so that, when we do get in our metaphorical bed with our next person, it's just the two of us. Now other people might be like banging at the door trying to get in, but either way, in this space, this is our sanctuary, and it's just the two of us in here. And once we get just the two of us in here, then we're ready to serve each other. We're ready to love each other. We're ready to be together for the long run, because it's just the two of us, and we can deal with whatever comes our way. But until that, we're dealing with Tom, Dick, Harry, Sally, Susie, Shaniqua, all of them, man. We dealing with all them people, and we need to kick all of them out before we can even have peace in our own sanctuary of the us.
Yeah, I'm gonna smack you in your head. You stole my line. Kick your parents out of the bed. Kick your exes out of the bed. Kick all those people out of the bed, so that you can actually be there with your person. And that starts in the mirror. It starts with doing some work. It starts actually looking at yourself and realizing, I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. It's nothing wrong with having good and bad sides. We all have good and bad sides. And honestly, sometimes your bad sides could be some of your best sides when you deal with it. A lot of people that we work with, dealing with addictions and alcoholism and porn and all these different things, once they've dealt with that, they're stronger, more foundational, they're higher caliber. But if you haven't dealt with your stuff and you're wondering why you can't get higher caliber, you're wondering why you can't step up, it's because you haven't dealt with your stuff. You're too weighed down. You got 10,000 pounds of rocks on your back, and you need to chip those away and break those down so that you can lighten your load and level up. But it's totally up to you, baby boo. Men, women, it's up to you. If you want to share the bed with 4 other people, 10 other people, that's up to you. Get your freak on. But if you want to have a successful, intimate, prosperous relationship, especially with somebody at a level that you admire and want to be like, you got to do the inner work. You got to lighten load, clean out your closet, clean your laundry, and make sure you keep watching us. Go to YouTube.
Now what you should do, you should share. You should share this. You should share Mad Men of Masculinity. You should like, share. You should subscribe, all that kind of stuff. You can subscribe, and you'll get a notification whenever new videos come up. And if you ever want to unsubscribe, it don't cost you nothing. I mean, if we ever get on your nerves that bad, but it helps us out. Hit the subscribe button. Get us to the point where we can become legit, official, and we can more legit, more official in terms of YouTube anyway, and the algorithms and all that kind of stuff. And we can just try to help as many people as we can. So like, subscribe, and if you're going to share, don't share your bed. Don't share your head. Share the Mad Men of Masculinity, madmenradio.com and all that kind of stuff. And with that,
Mad Men Out.
Out.